What's up, legends? Welcome back to the Local Legends podcast. I felt like it was time to reintroduce everyone to the mission and purpose of the small town success stories that we're telling. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what's to come, as well as my perspective on what's happening in the comeback city in general. This is the very first Speakeasy session. Let's get into it. So a little bit about my own story. I'm a Shawnee State graduate. I graduated in 2016, and I had this professor named Bastian Lecoff-DeHarm who was particularly inspirational to me. So a few weeks before I graduated, Bastian shared this story about basically what's going to happen after we graduate, which what he told us was when we walk across the stage, everyone's going to cheer when they hand us that diploma, and it's going to be this great moment of triumph. And then when you get to the other side of the stage, it's going to be quiet, and no one's going to cheer for you for a really long time. And that had like a particular impact on me. I guess the lesson that he was trying to share with us was that it certainly doesn't get any easier after graduation. The opportunities don't fall in your lap. So it's really up to you to manifest some kind of life out of the knowledge that you've been given. So of course, a lot of the people that I graduated with left immediately following graduation to a bigger city like Cincinnati or Columbus, which is something I would never knock if, you have a more ready job opportunity. But personally, I couldn't wait to stay. I really believed that, I could manifest something out of the talents that I had. And my wife and I had actually gotten married while we were in school. So we had already kind of started a life here. So we were living on 3rd and Brown at the time in this little apartment complex called a Magnolia Court. And while other people were leaving, I could not wait to walk out my front door every day and grind and take opportunities that other people were completely overlooking. And I feel like I realized pretty early on that if you have internet connectivity, which I know is a little spotty down here in Southern Ohio, but the fact of the matter is we're not living in 1970 anymore. Our opportunities are not limited to whether or not the Coke plant is hiring. And we're entering into this fourth industrial revolution, and it's a whole new level of technology and digital interconnectivity and online opportunity that's literally never existed before. That living in a small town has so many advantages, and we saw that in times like 2020. And now on top of that, we have this entire digital market available to us, and you can see that just in so many examples of entrepreneurs that are thriving online in a city of 22,000 people. The podcast came about, actually it started with a craft beer. So Bernie G, Dortmunder Lager was the name that the Portsmouth Brewery Company gave it, and Tim Glockner and Darren Malton and them went into partnership together to create something that kind of represented the family legacy. Bernard Glockner is the very first Glockner. He started the business when the family moved here in 1847. And so there's just like a lot of conversation around that time about entrepreneurship and the history of the family, that they have this very long lineage of entrepreneurs and people building the business. It was really out of just a genuine desire to start conversation around the topic. It's what I personally wanted to talk about, just selfishly. I was very interested in the topic, and I was just growing tired at the time of just comment sections in general. There's a lot of good that comes from social media. My job, relies heavily on it, but I think, or nuanced kind of Socratic dialogue is something that you can't do in a comment section. And so I was really looking to build a space, a platform where people could express their ideas in kind of a more long-form content kind of way. And I had some really good friends who did it before me, being Sadie Patchen and Dale King, and then obviously there was Glock and Doc before that with Tim Glockner and Dale. And then after that, the next iteration was the Portsmouth Strong podcast. And one day I just texted Sadie. I was like, hey, what's the name of that mic that you use for the podcast? And she sent me an Amazon link, and I started working on it the next day. But it all kind of came from a genuine desire to kind of hold a space for real conversations. And then through encouragement, through people like Nick Dingle, he really kind of pushed me or encouraged me to just take the step and go for it. And here we are telling small town success stories. The goal is to tell stories that are hyper-local, contextual to people that actually live here. And for that reason, perpetuate some of the success that some of my guests are talking about to other people listening. I talked about before the idea that I know there's a kid down the street or living on Jackson Street right now that is trying to figure out and sort out how they're going to be successful here. And it's important to me that there's content created that gives them somewhat of an outline or a blueprint or stories, which are certainly more impactful to people than data. You can tell them how many jobs or opportunities are here. But until they see someone that's from where they're from succeeding, it's just hard to imagine themselves in that position. So my guests sharing stories every week, I really feel that they are and will in the future as this accelerates, changing people's lives with the stories they're telling. Just like my life has changed by hearing the stories of the peers and the people that I look up to here, a lot of which have been on the podcast. I mean, there's so much to say about the Comeback City in general and all the amazing things that are happening here. Like, there's so many initiatives and people I've yet to have on the podcast that are doing amazing things. And so, I just want to thank everyone that's been a part of this project so far. You all have been a huge inspiration to me. That's why you're on the podcast. And I'm looking forward to having other people on, because there's so many other people I want to talk to that I admire and I know can benefit others by sharing their story. And so that's what we're going to continue to do. I'll be frank, growing the podcast is definitely one of my goals, but my goal for this is not to have 1 million subscribers. It's about hyper-local content, contextual content, and real conversations from people that are succeeding here. Real small town success stories that could benefit the people listening. And I think just out of that genuine aim, I think your stories are going to help people and have continued to help people. It's amazing to have just conversations recorded from people that have passed to this point. It was like I don't think I ever would have forgiven myself if I wouldn't have had Billy Deaver on the podcast before he passed. And so, I'm able to listen back to his life's work and what he cared about. And, now that we have that documented for generations in the future, that my daughter, who, has a swing set from Billy and a ball pit from Billy and all kinds of, he'd buy them gifts every year for their birthday. And now she's going to know who that is. And that's also important to me, that we just document local excellence and excellent people, local legends only kind of thing, so that future generations know that just the real firsthand account history of the kind of people that are bringing back the city. Portsmouth has been in a population decline since 1934. 2019 was the very first time that we saw an increase in population. And, I really feel that we're taking all the right steps as a community and kind of putting our egos aside and working together in ways that's going to generate real results, and already has, is bringing back the pride of the city and the pride of the peerless city, as it was once known. Thanks everybody so much for listening. The people that I see out in the community, just with all 10 toes down invested in what's happening here. You guys are my inspiration, and I'm so thankful that you've chosen to be guests and a part of what we're doing with the Local Legends podcast, and hope to continue to get your story out to more people. And thanks for listening week after week. We have a new post schedule Wednesdays at 9 p.m. We'll be posting every week. some kind of content to the YouTube channel and an episode of the podcast as well out to all podcast streaming services. Yeah, really thankful for you guys being a part of it. Take care.